Nicola Sturgeon has called for immediate guarantees on the residency status and rights of European Union nationals living in Scotland. The First Minister has written to Prime Minister David Cameron and the 5 candidates bidding to replace him following last week's vote for Brexit. Ms. Sturgeon said it was imperative the UK government respected the rights of Scotland's 173,000 EU citizens. The UK backed leaving the EU, but in Scotland 62% voted to remain. Ms. Sturgeon has held a series of meetings with senior EU officials after pledging to do all she can to protect Scotland's position in Europe. Her demands for guarantees on EU nationals comes ahead of a meeting with consuls-general of EU member states and diplomats at her official residence, Bute House in Edinburgh, on Tuesday. Ms. Sturgeon said, "Scotland voted overwhelmingly to stay in Europe, yet citizens of EU countries who live, work and contribute to our country are understandably anxious and uncertain about what the UK referendum result means for them and their families. People from EU countries are an important part of Scotland's future. I am therefore seeking immediate guarantees from the Prime Minister, and all Conservative leadership candidates, that the residency status and the other existing rights of the 173,000 EU nationals living in Scotland will remain unchanged, now or in the future. This is a commitment that can and should be made and enforced now. It is imperative that the UK government respects those who have exercised their treaty rights and chosen to make a life in Scotland. Scotland is still firmly in the EU and we are pursuing all options to maintain our EU status, something that I underlined in my meetings in Brussels in the last few days. Valuable reassurance." She added, "Through the consular network I want to get the message out as far and as wide that we are an inclusive and outward-looking society that recognizes the immense contribution EU citizens make to Scotland's economy, society, and culture." Ms. Sturgeon said she would listen to suggestions on how the Scottish Government could provide further reassurance to EU citizens in Scotland. Those studying or starting a course this year have already been told they will receive free tuition in Scotland for the duration of their studies despite the Brexit vote. David Cameron already moved to reassure European citizens living in the UK that there will be no immediate changes in their circumstances. But he said final clarification would be a matter for the complex Brexit negotiations which lie ahead. Meanwhile, Scottish Liberal Democrat leader Willie Rennie has called for a joint EU, UK, and Scottish Government statement to reassure universities and research institutions about the future of EU funding. He said, "Research can be years in the planning. Already there has been speculation that researchers from the UK will be sidelined or excluded from taking part in new projects. To maintain confidence and avoid any confusion, we need a joint statement from the EU, UK, and Scottish governments to be issued immediately to all funding bodies, research institutions and universities. This would provide immediate and valuable reassurance."